The Book of Joe, a memoir of Joe Maddon's fascinating baseball journey, an insider's look at a changing game, and a guidebook on leadership and life. The book, which comes out tomorrow, written with our own Tom Verducci, released, as I said, available wherever you get your books tomorrow. And we're pleased to be joined by the man himself, Joe Maddon, who joins us now here on MLB Central. Good morning to you, Joe. We appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Congratulations on the book. What was the desire? What was the motivation for the book?
First of all, good morning, and thank you for having me with you guys. The motivation, I've been asked this for several years. 2008, after the Rays get to the series, and I was not ready for that because I didn't deserve it. After the 2019 season, I talked to Tommy and asked him if he'd be interested in doing something together because I so respect his work. So we did, and a big part of it is to compare and contrast managing from like 1980s to present day. I was around some great managers at that time, and the guy that I was most directly involved with was Gene Mauch, who I thought probably was the smartest baseball guy I've ever met in my life. And anyway, there's been so many things that have occurred since then that have changed the method with which managers are not only viewed, but how they are actually able to do their jobs or not. So I thought we'd be interesting to bring that to light. And Tom was all on board with it. Mm-hmm. It was primarily about that. And then, of course, things that I've done throughout my life, the Maddonisms per chapter to reflect on different thoughts. And again, I can't state it enough. Tommy's brilliant with his ability to weave things together, to research, et cetera. He makes it really interesting.
Joe, I kind of want to jump off that because I went right to the pictures in the book. First off, Broad Street Joe.
I do the same thing, yeah.
You like to dabble with the quarterback position a little bit back in high school?
I know you did too. Yeah, I was actually really good. I played 3 years there. I played all through midget football. There it is, number 12.
There you go.
Joe Willie, I got to be good friends with Namath, and Joe and I have talked, and I told him how much he influenced my football. That's how I got to Lafayette College, was through football, not baseball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I played my freshman year there. We did really well, 6-1, lost to Rutgers only. And then I just could not stand not playing baseball more often, and that's how I retired from football and became a baseball player.
Super athlete. Joe Maddon, it's Jake Peavy, buddy. Congrats on the book. I want to ask you just a little bit more specifics of in your time over the big leagues, and I've harped on this a lot of, when I went out of the game, Bruce Bochy, who raised me and was just such a, like you said, a great baseball mind and man. And I was watching analytics take away some of his decision-making power. If me and you had an organization and you had it your way, what would be some things that, just chain of command-wise, that you would want to see set up?
That's easy. I want baseball to be first and everything else to be second. I want the information, and you can call it analytics, whatever you want, but it's information. And I want it, and I want the best. I want the best info available. But statistics or analytics has to serve baseball, not the other way around. I think it's gotten skewed for whatever reason. And now baseball coaches, tried and true managers, coaches that have really spent their entire life honing their craft, now have to answer to, actually, honestly, those that have not. Before the game, I would not. I have my whole plan written out if anybody ever wants to talk to me about it. But yeah, I want analytics, but I want a coach to be in charge of each position and an analyst that answers to the coach and not the other way around. It's gone to the point where the analyst component has become the superior in the conversation and the coach has become the inferior. I want it to be the other way. I want all of it. I want all of that stuff. So baseball first, everything else secondary. I want it augmented, supplemented, however you want to say it, with all this good stuff, which is outstanding. But it's gotten to the point now where it's been skewed. The real game's not being taught. Nobody's passing it along in the minor leagues to coaches. That's my biggest concern, is that I had great mentors as a coach growing up. I mean, the best. And I have connections going all the way back to Mr. Rickey because of guys like Don Zimmer and Preston Gomez. These guys today, the young coaches, need to be mentored in the same way so that they can carry the teachings forward. Look what happened the game the other night. Gene Segura, how about that little punch to the right side?
Yep. Right.
I can't tell you that's going to happen during the regular season. I'm not. Baseball players right now are going instinctively. They're going more pure, and they're just going to try to win games as opposed to appeal to their own numbers. That's what baseball's supposed to look like, as an example.
So take me back to the Rays days, because I feel like they have to play on the whole analytics side, the way their payroll's set up, how they can attract certain free agents, and how they play in certain sandboxes in the AL East. So take me back, the difference you felt recently as opposed to 2008? Because going through it, I mean, I thought you were a manager much younger in your career. I'm 52 years old when you were named the manager with the Rays. So you had kind of seen everything baseball-wise, and then you come in contact with Andrew Friedman. So I want to know the difference between then and now analytically for you.
The number one, nobody ever talks about this. The number one most important things a great analytical department does is to acquire players. The reason why some teams are better than others because they acquire people before they become stars. Perfect example was Carlos Pena with us, with the Rays, had really kind of Oakland, Detroit, not done as well as everybody thought he should. And then all of a sudden he comes to the Rays and he takes off. Logan Forsythe is another great example of looking under the hood. So everybody thinks analytics is this number game that's played right before the game or a couple days before the game that benefits that team. You're a really good player, Mark, and so is Jake. I know both of you just needed a nugget. You didn't need a dissertation. And everybody is coming to believe that dissertations are the reason why teams win. Nuggets is all you could hold on to in a hot moment. So back then, the Rays' advantage was, I thought, acquisitionally, being able to work from a smaller payroll by getting the right guys in there because you could not make a mistake with that amount of money to work with. That was primary. And the next thing was defense. Our defense, I remember playing the World Series against the Yankees, and they were so frustrated after the series because they hit so many balls hard, we were standing right there. And my motto was, we catch line drives. Defense also tremendously benefits from analytics. I'll concede pitchers. Pitchers really do too. But then again, a pitcher has to be able to carry out a game plan. And furthermore, I prefer pitchers pitching to their strengths as opposed to hitter weaknesses anyway, just knowing where you have to go with the baseball. Finally, the hitters don't get anything. And that's evident right now. And I don't care. You could give me all the analytical information. I could watch as many videos as I want. But that's a reactive situation where the pitcher's proactive. So all these, that's to me how I see analytics. The superstar is acquisition. And nobody talks about that enough.
Joe, you write in the book, among other things, the final days of your departure in Los Angeles with the Angels, including an incident earlier in the month of May where Perry Manassian called down to the dugout to have Mike Trout removed from the game because he had been complaining of some tightness or discomfort in his groin. What do you recall about that incident and your subsequent conversation with Perry Manassian after he had called down to the dugout?
Well, just in general, I'm not into anybody calling down the dugout unless it's because you traded somebody. But you have to understand, I'm just talking about this to illustrate what I'm talking about, and that's the interference from front office to the game itself and not permitting baseball people to be baseball people. Jake just alluded to that with Boch. And I've gotten other guys that have called me managers, both present, past, GMs, primarily in the past, that have called me players that are totally on board with all these concepts. And I'm not trying to change anything. In a sense, I'm just trying to illustrate what's going on and we're making all these different changes within the game, i.e. which I think is wonderful, the pitch clock, the pace clock. Some of the others could go away, like the 3-batter minimum. For instance, when teams now want to possibly match up at the end of the game, it's hard to match up when the pitcher has to face 3 hitters.
Yeah.
Starting a runner at second. I mean, all this stuff, so at the point is, yeah, I got upset. I got upset because could have been Perry, could have been anybody else that called down to the dugout. And that's not the point. The point is, if I'm going to talk about baseball trending in the wrong direction with all of that, as I have to give illustrations or examples. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Are you locked in on the playoffs, Joe?
I've watched I have, because I'm going to talk to guys like you. I'm doing a podcast with Verduch now on iHeart. It's going to start today. We have to record it later. And once a week on Sirius MLB with Brad Lidge and CJ Witkowski. So I gotta be brought back up to speed. So yeah, listen, the teams that I know. The other ones I haven't seen the Padres and the Dodgers. I don't think I was with them when they played them this year. There's teams I just got to be brought more up to speed with, and that's what I'm trying to do.
What'd you think of Buck having Joe Musgrove checked?
Well, I understand why he did it. When the guy's going that good, it's got to be something. It can't be me. It can't be us.
Yeah.
I'm a big Musgrove fan, man. I want you to know. That's the latter-day John Lackey for me. When I saw him with Pittsburgh, this guy's a really good athlete. He runs really well. He used to get on the bases and take off. He could swing the bat. look at him. He's a lot like
Big dude.
Lackey, and I think he's got the same kind of attitude, which I love. So he's the modern day version of John Lackey. I think, with all due respect and apologies to John, I think Musgrove was faster.
Joe, do you want to manage again?
I do. But again, like we've talked about, and Jake brought it up earlier, it's got to be under this right circumstances. And that's part of why I wanted to say what I'm saying now, whether it's through the book or talking to people like yourself. In these situations, I don't want to interview and waste anybody's time. If anybody sincerely would be interested, they know track record. And with what's going on now, I don't want anything to be held behind or in the background. I want to be very, I talk about pure intentions all the time. Yes, I would like to, but it's got to be with the right group. Right. And I don't know if this is going to make me more or less attractive. Either way, I'm fine. There's other things. I have other interests in the world too. But yeah, baseball is still my passion. And it would have to be, again, with the right group. And I haven't heard with it from anybody yet specifically, just a lot of little background banner. But hopefully that'll occur. And then I'll have to really start considering it again.
What does Joe Maddon have for breakfast?
Today, one chocolate chip cookie.
There you go.
My sister, pardon me. Yeah. But
what's that
what
handicap
I got.
getting down to?
And it's my index is 7.5 now. That started about twice as much.
There you go.
But bulletproof coffee every morning. It really curbs the appetite.
It's called The Book of Joe, Trying Not to Suck at Baseball and Life. It's written alongside our own Tom Verducci, and it's available tomorrow. Joe Maddon, congratulations on the book. Enjoy the off season, and maybe we'll see you around.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate having us on. Thank you.
Got it.